Hello, my name is Brenna, and this is my Capstone project presentation. This was the final project for devCodeCamp, a 12-week full-stack software development program. Before I've gotten to this bootcamp, I worked as an optician, an optical lab tech, and at an optometry practice, which I really enjoyed. There was a lot to learn going into it, and I enjoyed the work. However, I did feel like there were limited opportunities there for growth and advancement. So after a little while, I started thinking about changing careers. And my uncle suggested looking into these boot camps. I had done a little bit of coding in high school, and I enjoyed it, and as I was continuing to research it, I thought that this was something I would really enjoy doing. So I started boot camp, and here we are. So for my final project, I decided to make an online cookbook, and I really wanted to do this because I've always enjoyed cooking and baking, but sometimes the recipes would be a little bit annoying to me. I felt like mine were very unorganized. I would have some in a cookbook, I've had some recipe cards, I have some online, but they're just kind of all over, and especially if it's not a recipe I use very often, sometimes it'd be a hard time to track down where that recipe was. I also like to do a lot of modifications to recipes, so especially if that was an online recipe, it's not easy to make a note of what that modification is and remember it for next time. So I really wanted to be able to create a site where you can consolidate all of your recipes and that they don't necessarily have to be somebody else's recipes, as well as just a good way to keep them organized and be able to go back and edit them if anything changed. So I made this project on a 10-day sprint. I used JavaScript and React for the front end, as well as HTML and CSS for styling. I used Python and Django for my back end, and MySQL for the database, and then also Postman for testing all of my back end endpoints. So this is the home screen for my project if you're an unregistered user. If you'd like to register as a user, you can just click here to register, and there's a form here where you can fill out all of your information. I'm just going to use a user that I've already created, so we just have some recipes already saved in there. And this would be your home screen. All of your recipes are listed out, as well as a brief description with a little more information about them. And if you click on one, it brings you right to the recipe page, and here is all of your information for your recipe. As you can see, ingredients and directions are side by side. I really wanted to do that on purpose because that was something that always bothered me about online recipes, is that the ingredients is usually stacked on top of the directions. And if you're done in the directions and it's telling you to add something but it doesn't say how much, you have to scroll back up into your ingredients to see. And especially if you have like messy fingers or something, that is not always fun. So the ingredients and directions are side by side and they're each individually scrollable. If you scroll down on your recipe, you can see that there's also a place for notes, and you can add a new note, any information that maybe didn't fit in your recipe that you just want to add. If you hit submit, you can see that your note is now added. On your recipe, there's also a place where you can go and edit your recipe. So you can edit any of your basic information, any of your ingredients, and you can also add an ingredient if you forgot something. So in this case, we can say we forgot salt, and it's added, and you can hit done, and as you can see, we now have salt on our recipe. You can also favorite recipes, so if you just hit favorite, you can see all of your favorites in the favorites tab, which is right here. You can see that lasagna is added. You can also add favorites to recipes that are not your own. If you go to the search bar up here, we'll say we want like a muffin recipe, and hit search, you can see all recipes that have muffins from other users. And if you click one, you can hit favorite on this one as well, and you can see that we now have cornbreads as a favorite. If you decide you don't like this recipe anymore, or you did it on accident, you can hit unfavorite, and it will go away. We also have a collections tab up here, so just a really great way to organize all of your recipes. I just see we already have a collection for baking and vegetarian, so just a place where you want to add a grouping for all of your recipes. So we can also add one, maybe we'll say dinners, recipes. And now we have our new collection. And if we go back to home, we can add lasagna to our favorite dinner recipes. If you scroll down, you'll see an add to collection button. If you click that, you can see all of your collections listed out, and we'll hit add to dinners. And if we go back to our collections, we can see that lasagna is now in there. The last part of this would be adding your own recipe, which if you go back to home, you can see your add recipe button. And for this one, we'll just do something really easy. Please say it just takes 20 minutes. And I'll just add some instructions I already had in there. And so, as you can see, you can only add all of your basic information here. There's not a place to add your ingredients. This was a part of the program I had a little bit of a hard time with because I really wanted to be able to add all of this information as well as ingredients all on the same page because that just kind of made sense to me. However, the way my database was set up is that all of this basic information and all of the ingredients information are two different data tables, and that we need the basic information in there in order to add ingredients. So when I was setting this up and trying to do everything on the same page, the ingredients wouldn't work because there was nothing there to add it to yet. I needed to have this as an object before I could add ingredients. And I was trying a few different things to make the timing work and to make essentially adding this part of the information execute before adding the ingredients, but I couldn't get it to work, so I kind of had to rethink it. And so what I came up with is after you add your basic information and hit add recipe, it brings you to your edit page. And this is the same editing page that you would see on an already existing recipe. So if you hit done, you can see it brings us to our recipe page, and if you go back to edit recipe, this is the same page we were just on. And here is where you can add all of your ingredients, which I'll skip for right now, but I thought this was a good way to do it because you still have the same functionality even if it is in two separate steps, but is also I was able to reuse my editing page and I didn't have to create a second new recipe page in order to get everything on there. But that is my project for now. I would like to continue to add to it. I feel like I'd like to continue to smooth out some of the functionality. In the editing page, there are some places where you have to essentially click twice in order for something to work. So here you would have to hit save and then done in order for any changes you made to save. So I'd like to go back and kind of smooth some of that out. I would also like to expand some of the functionality on a few things. So as you can see, when you add a note, you can see it, but I can't edit it after that. So if I wrote something wrong or I just don't want this here anymore, right now there's not really a way to do that. So I just like to continue to add functionality to kind of fix some of those problems. I'd also like to add a landing page, just a way to kind of introduce new users into what the program is and kind of gear them either towards creating a user for themselves or towards a search page, because you can search for recipes and read recipes without being a user. And then I'd like to just continue to work on styling, making everything look a little nicer. But that's my project for right now. Again, my name is Brenna. Thank you so much for watching.